Good morning, Patrick here from Complete Health. Just enjoying my morning coffee and just thought I'd jump on and I'm reading another book at the moment. And when I read and I hear the same things over and over again in different books, and the fact that it's not commonplace amongst the public to teach these things, I always think it's absolutely crazy. So over the last 2-3 weeks, I have obviously been introduced massively to Audible, and I've listened to 3 books: the Longevity Paradox by, I think his name is Stephen Gundry, if I've got that right. Lifespan, I forget the name of the author, and then How Not to Die by Michael Gerber. And every single one of these has got the same context and content about why people are suffering with chronic diseases. And I don't understand why this is not being taught by doctors on a regular basis, because it is conclusive and factual and research and evidence-based beyond a shadow of doubt that these 2 things will improve people's lifestyles, longevity, and risks of diseases. These 2 things are linked with improved lifestyle, length of life, quality of life, and reduced level of diseases. And it's really simple. It's 2 things: increased number of plant-based foods in your diet without refined foods, so e.g. refined sugars and flours and grains, etc., and increased levels of exercise. These are the 2 things that pretty much anyone can do, and they can mitigate or reduce their risks of disease. Now, interestingly enough, there's a response within our body when we expose ourselves to animal-based proteins. There is a response our body goes through when we expose ourselves to animal-based proteins, which seems to be a very low-grade immunoresponse based on the information that I have been listening to. And the main reason obviously being is that other animal cells will have an antibody on it that we will then recognize. And despite the fact that obviously we maybe don't think about these things, our immune system and the bacteria in our stomach do. And by affecting the bacteria and the compounds within our stomach and how good our gut health is, we can start to affect the way that our body starts to work. Now, interestingly, I had a client coming in yesterday, and he works for charities with mental health. And we were having a little bit of a discussion about obviously how good looking after the bacteria in your stomach is for improving the quality of your health. And he interestingly said, well, it's interesting you should say that, because when we work with people with mental health, one of the things we actually do recommend is improving the gut bacteria. Why? Because we know that good gut health has been linked with improved mental well-being. But where does the link come from? Well, many of us don't actually know that different parts of our body actually produce different chemical hormones that will make us feel and heal more quickly. So, 98% of your serotonin. Now, most people know that serotonin is the hormone that makes them feel good. However, did you know that 98% of that serotonin was created in your colon? So if you've got bad gut health, how do you think that's going to make you feel mentally? I have to admit, since I've switched over to 100% plant-based diet, my mind has come clearer, my body is less inflamed, I have less flare-ups in my low back. By the way, I suffered with sciatica coming through chiropractic school. Why? Because we had to practice on each other and we had to learn one way. And as a result, by getting constantly adjusted in not a good way, because guess what? We were learning, and as a result, were we doing things 100% right? Absolutely not. And so there was a risk for me that obviously I started to get worse. And so I ended up having to kind of get over these injuries post coming out from school. And I was getting flare-ups of sciatica whilst working as a chiropractor, maybe 3 or 4 times, sometimes more than that a year, every month, a year, and actually switching over my diet and getting regular chiropractic care and partaking in regular exercise has helped for me to mitigate all of these problems. So one thing that you can definitely do, and I'm not expecting everybody to go out and switch over to 100% plant-based diet, because it's just not realistic to get that level of expectation from my clients. However, what I do challenge people to do is start introducing more fruits and vegetables and actually go maybe 2 days a week without, because what they've shown is that after meat and refined produce in your diet, your arteries start to stiffen up for about 5 to 6 hours after you've eaten that meal. So if you give yourself a whole day without eating meat and refined foods, what you'll actually find is you'll loosen up your blood vessels and reduce your risks of stuff like heart disease and chronic arterial dysfunction. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a sacrifice that's worth making. Giving up meat for a day for the reduced risks of dying from eating meat. Now, we don't necessarily understand all the sciences behind why this happens. However, we have seen the effects that these things have. And the only reason why I can understand that these things have not been explained on a regular and mass basis is because of profit and corporations. It's the only reason why I can see that these things wouldn't go to take place, because someone is making money off of selling meat and medications. And it's not to say that those things do not help us. They can be incredibly helpful. Medications, when used in the right way, are incredibly helpful. But why would you want to take a medication for the rest of your life when you can quite easily also sort out the problem just by changing your lifestyle as well? So this is just some food for thought. And I'm not saying go 100% vegetarian or vegan. However, being vegetarian and vegan and doing regular exercise has been linked to improved levels of longevity, but also significantly reduced levels of diseases. So not only will you live longer, you will also live a better quality of life. And actually, recorded, the oldest person that's ever run a marathon was 94 or 93, one or the other. 94 years old. Could you imagine running a marathon at 94 years old? Well, interestingly enough, these people were vegetarian. Just some food for thought. So, like I say, I don't know how this has gone on so long without it being exemplified. Interestingly, I found this stuff from Cowspiracy was an interesting one for me. This is more on global pandemic of what eating meat and dairy is doing to our planet. What the Health, Forks Over Knives. Now 3 books, The Longevity Paradox, How Not to Die, and Lifespan, have all said to me the same thing. You know, the fact is that I've now watched 5 or 6 documentaries. I also watched The C Word with Morgan Freeman being the voiceover. Same answer. Plant-based diet, improve longevity. Increase levels of exercise, improve longevity. So 2 things that you can do, it's super easy. Reduce the amount of meat and animal products that you're using and increase your levels of activity. And even if you only did one, you increase your chances of survival. But if you do both, it is maximized. Patrick here from Complete Health. I hope you found this information helpful. I will speak to you guys again tomorrow. Take care for now.